Okay, looks like we are live. Yeah, cool. Let me just quickly send some messages that we are live. All right, cool. Right. All right, so hey everybody, welcome to the next TimescaleDB live stream we are doing. My name is Attila Toth. I'm a developer advocate at Timescale, and in today's stream, we are going to build a very simple finance dashboard, an intraday stocks analysis dashboard using TimescaleDB as the database and Plotly as our backend / frontend, basically web framework, which will generate the dashboard for our application. So if this is the first stream you're watching, or if you're watching the recording, because this is going on YouTube as well. So if this is the first video you're watching in this series, if you haven't watched the previous 2 or maybe 3 videos or streams, I've been building a finance, I guess a finance analysis tool to analyze intraday stock data, basically tick data, using the 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗃 Finance API and TimescaleDB as the database, as the time series database. And so in this project, first I just want to quickly go through what we have, because we are going to continue building on this project, and we are going to modify some part of our code, like for example what you see here. Let me actually set my drawing tool, so if I need it, it's ready to go. So this 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗲𝗃 is, I think we worked on it last time. It's basically just a lot of different ways to analyze our stock intraday data set. Like for example, we have a query for figuring out Apple's trading volume over time, price. We have which symbols had the highest weekly gains. We have FANG prices. We also have 15-minute candlestick charts. So we're going to try to build a dashboard using these queries and basically just modifying these functions, so we don't return a figure, or we actually return a figure, but it's shown on a dashboard inside an application. All right, and one thing before we get started, as I said, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, check the description, because there will be a few links there that you might want to check out, like for example the GitHub project page, or the GitHub repository for this project, which has all the code. It's inside the Timescale examples folder, and you can implement this exact project yourself. Also, if you want to see like a detailed tutorial, you can click the link in the README, and that will take you to the TimescaleDB documentation, where, let me just check something real quick. All right, so in the TimescaleDB documentation, you will see a detailed guide, a step-by-step guide, how to fetch stocks data using the 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗃 API, which provides a free API key, which this tutorial is using. This tutorial also goes through the database schema, So how you design the database schema so you can actually store basically candlestick data in your TimescaleDB instance. And it also shows you how to get the symbols, how to make your requests, how to fetch stock data, how to batch insert it into the database. And then finally, this tutorial also goes through all the visualizations, all the queries, and basically just everything you need to get started with analyzing stock prices, intraday stock prices. I think this is a really good starting point for you if you want to get started with TimescaleDB and or get started with intraday candlestick analysis. Alrighty, so let's go back to our code. So basically, as I said, we're going to build a dashboard. Build a dashboard for our database, which is this. So I have a bunch of tables here. I actually don't need many of these. We are going to use just stocks intraday because that contains the most data, but also the latest data. So as you can see here, we have time, we have price open, price close, price low, price high, trading volume, and symbol, obviously. So everything we need to generate candlestick charts and other things. So let me just quickly check the latest data point we have. I believe it's Monday, if I remember, order by time. So I think it's stocks intraday. So I think it's yeah. So today is July 16, and the last data point we have is from Monday. All right. So we are going to build a dashboard which uses this database. Now, how are we going to do that? So let's. So I already showed you the 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗲𝗃 script, which basically just a bunch of queries and Plotly code. Well, pandas/Plotly code, which generates the visualizations. So that's all what 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗲𝗃 does. And we're going to use Plotly. Well, we are already using Plotly in this module to generate the charts, but also Plotly has a module which is called Plotly Dash, which is basically a tool that lets you generate dashboards, dashboard applications relatively quickly and all in Python. So normally, if you're in Python and you want to create a web application and you want to build dashboards, you only do the backend tasks in Python, and you use some kind of front end framework, maybe JavaScript or something like that, React, for example, where you actually build out your dashboards. But the problem is that it's slow, and if you need to generate ad hoc reports and you want to stay in Python, you don't want to learn JavaScript, or you just don't want to spend time coding JavaScript, Plotly Dash could be a really good alternative because it basically lets you build dashboards. Also, it lets you build interactive dashboards, which I show you how to do that. And as I said, everything in Python. And so this way the development time is fairly short. So first we need to install Plotly with a pip install dash. So let's do that. I'm inside my virtual environment. So let's do pip install dash. I think I already have it installed. Yes, but just to make sure. And we don't need Jupyter for now. Pandas is already installed, but let's just make sure it's already installed. So let me just quickly grab the example. If I believe there is a very simple example here. Yeah. So as you can see, this is the Plotly. So I'm inside the Plotly documentation, and this is a very, very simple example code how to get started with Plotly. And so I'm just going to copy paste it into a new Python file. So let's call it dashboard.py. So I copy paste the example code. So as you can see, we creating a new dash object, external style sheet. I don't need external style sheets. Then we are, I just delete this. Then we are creating a data frame. And we used, so this example uses the data frame to create a bar chart, which is shown here. So now the good thing is that what we need to, so basically we have this example code. Let's try to connect this example code with our already existing queries. And again, this should be very simple because our explore script uses Plotly, and we already have the data frames figured out. Well, first of all, the queries figured out, the data frames figured out, and the figure object, so the chart object, we already have that figured out. So basically, we just need to modify this module to return the Plotly figures. So let's look at a very simple chart. So let's look at this one, for example. I think the first one is actually producing a bar chart. And it's fairly simple. So let's so this one, let's first run this script to see what it returns. Query 1, that's right. So this will run now. If I run the explore script. So if I run this, I think I have the database configurations set up correctly. Yes. So basically this returns this bar chart, most traded symbols in the last 14 days. So let's try to put this inside Plotly dash. So if you look at the example code, if you look here, and I mistyped dashboard, let me just quickly fix that. 1B, okay. So we want to replace this piece of the code with our explore, basically with our explore function. So let me import explore dot let me just import explore. So we imported the module, and let's do, so what this function returns, well, currently it returns nothing, so let's return something. Let's return the figure object, and then we don't need the show function. So we return the figure object, which is a Plotly object. Let's reference this here. So instead of this line that we just copied, let's use the one inside the explore module. Let's use query 1 because this is query 1. This should have a more descriptive name anyway. So figure equals explore query done, query 1. So this is a figure object which is replacing this. So we don't need this, and because we don't need that, we don't need the data frame either. So here we have this layout. So this is why Plotly Dash can be, well, beneficial, but also sometimes you are better off just creating your own front end, because you can. So inside Plotly Dash you can basically generate HTML using Python. So you can just use HTML .h1 and this will generate an h1 tag. Again, if you know HTML, you can just do it yourself in HTML, but this way it's somewhat quicker to do it in Python. Now, one thing that you lose with this is that you just don't have that much flexibility on the front end side, because everything is generated by Plotly, but on the other side it's fairly quick to develop things this way. So, you know, based on what you want to do, what your requirements are, how good you are in JavaScript, do you want to do like front end stuff? Anyway, so let's just set this value to something, maybe call it let's call it stocks dashboard. So call it stocks dashboard. This is gonna be an h1 tag. Then there will be a block, I guess a div block. I don't think we need it. Yeah, I don't need this. Maybe one thing I need is a break, like a line break. If I'm right, you can do this. Yeah, you can. I think you can do this, which will just add a line break in the HTML. And then basically you have this DCC, which is dash core components. This will basically generate the charts, or well, one of these will generate one chart on the front end side, and this needs at least these two parameters. One is the ID, which is, I suppose that it's the ID what's gonna be shown on the front end side. Also, if you wanna like create callbacks, which we will do later, you will need to use this ID. So this is, you know, important to you know what the ID is. And then the figure object is basically the figure object that we return from the explore module. So this should be good. Let me just rename this to what it is, which is transaction volume. So let's call it volumes and the bar, because it's a bar chart. Okay, so if I run this should do something. I think I can just do Python and dashboard.py. I think I may need to do something else to run this, but let's see. No, this actually, yeah, so this actually starts a server. I'm wondering, I'm actually not sure if it uses Unicorn. I think it uses Unicorn, but maybe not. Anyway, so we run this. We have it running on localhost. And yeah, so here's our bar chart with the volumes. This is the H1 that we created here. And this is the bar chart. So it works. Let's try to add maybe another type of chart to the dashboard. Maybe let's insert the fang one, which yeah, so this one, which basically compares fang prices over time. And again, this is the, so from now on, whichever function we want to include, or whichever query we want to include on the dashboard, we just need to modify this function and make it return a Plotly figure object. And basically, then you just need to add a new graph object inside the app layout, and it will generate the chart. So this is fairly quick, which is the reason I like it. So let's find the fang one. So instead of show, let's return the figure. And this is query 5. So let's rename this to yeah, let's call it volumes bar. So this is the previous graph. Let's create a new one from _core components. Oops. I need a graph and I need ID. So the ID, let's call it fang. I think it's a line chart, so let's call it fang line. And then the figure is let's reference the figure. So this is fang line and explore dot. Is it query 5? Yes, it's query 5, and this returns a figure. And yes, this is a line chart. Okay. So figure goes here. And if I run this again, yeah. Also, you can run it, I think, with reload, which is basically you don't need to like restart the server every time you make a change, if that's something you want to do. But I like it this way because, yeah, let me actually just try to change something in the code. Yeah, currently it doesn't reload, but yeah, let's try it next time. I just don't like, I think it's called hot reloading, but I don't like it with Plotly Dash because you know, when you code, yeah, I think it hot reloads even now. So for example, now I you know, change something and they try to reload it, but there's a syntax error, so the server is just stopped anyway. So it's not very good to use anyway. So let's start the server again, and now we should see the fang prices on a oopsie. All right, so let's see the fang prices, right? So now we have that bar chart that we already had, and now we have a fang prices line chart below as well. And basically you could also like you know, add custom CSS, like for in the example used here, there is a CSS, an external CSS file added. Actually, let me try to add it if it does something, but I don't think it will. Yeah, let's try it. But I think there was, like, I think that CSS file is not available anymore or something. But let's try if it does anything. But yeah, basically you can create your own CSS file and put it here, and it should use it. So okay, I think it did something to the font of the H1, and that's it. Okay, so basically, basically you could just you know, modify all the other functions so they return a figure, and it's fairly easy to do. And this way you will have well, basically a dashboard fairly quickly written in Python. Now, one thing that I wanted to show besides this is I think I wanted to show two things besides this. Let me quickly look at my notes. I don't remember the second thing. Anyway, one thing I definitely wanted to show is how you can make an interactive dashboard. So for example, if you want to look at the FANG prices in a different time frame, or you want to look at you know, some other symbols prices, how to do that. And for that, let's use a candlestick chart as an example, which is query 8 in this function. So let's modify it to return the figure. Let's add it at the top, or we can add it at the bottom, doesn't matter. So DCC graph ID, let's call it candle let's call it candlestick. I mean, the type of the chart is candlestick, so let's call it candlestick. Figure is going to be candlestick, which I will create here. Explore.query 8. Yeah, so this is returning the figure with a candlestick chart. Let's run it to make sure that it's there. So yeah, so it's here. We have a 15-minute candlestick chart of Apple, and this is the day of June 9. Now, what we try to do is, so we try to make this chart interactive, and we want to change the either or the time. So basically, if we want to see not June 9, but maybe June 10 or June 11, then we should be able to do that on this dashboard. Or if we want to change the symbol, then we should be able to do that as well. So the way we can do that is basically in Plotly dash, you can do callbacks, which basically allow you to make interactive dashboards. So two things we need to create. One is the actual so the output and the input part of the callback. In our case, the input will be the symbol. So one input for the symbol and one input for the date. And the output will be the graph object that will need to be updated based on the input, which in our case is the candlestick chart. And the other function is basically what to update. What functions should be updated. So let's modify this. So basically, and yeah, I need to import those from dash dependencies. Right. So basically, we need one output, which is going to be the candlestick chart, and the ID is candlestick, and this is the component ID. So we need to put that here. Component property. So I think this one is so it says children. I'm not sure if we even need a second parameter for our one. Yeah, because basically we try to do something like this. We try to have an input box, and that will update the chart. I think what goes here is the actual, like, the type of thing you want to update. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, list of all component properties. Yeah, so I think in this example, the output would be the children elements of my div, but in our case we need to have the figure, which is an element itself. So I think this should be good. And let's try to create one input for the candlestick chart, which is an HTML element. Is it input? I think. Let's create a div. So yeah, we could create a div here and put everything inside that. Maybe that would make things a little more clear. So, okay, so this will be the input. So this will be, I don't know, something. And then this is going to be a component called input, right? Yeah, so there's a component called input, which needs it's a component, so it needs an ID. What is this input? Let's use it to change the symbol. So symbol ID, let's call it symbol input. And you need to provide an initial value. which in our case could be, you know, this value, which is a date, June 9. So let's provide that as initial value. Like this. And you also need to define that it's a text, right? I mean, yeah, let's do it with text, but I'm sure you could do this in a fancy way using a date. Well, it's a symbol, so text is good, actually. Oh, yeah, it's a symbol, so it shouldn't be the date, actually. Yeah, so the initial value, Apple, could be Apple, which is which has this symbol. All right, so this is going to input the symbol. I believe. Let's try to run it, if it even works. Because then yeah, so the callback function will not work. So we will need to set that up. I'm just wondering if the input element is there. Yeah, so the input field is there with Apple, which is good. We also have an error because we didn't set up properly the callback functions. Yeah, so basically we don't have my input element. So let's set up the callback function. So we have symbol input. Let's put that here as an input parameter. The component property a value, I think that's right, because we need the value of the input. Because in the HTML, if we quickly inspect it, we need the value. And yeah, so we have the input that should be working properly. And then we have the output, which is also fine. Candlestick, candlestick. Okay, now we need to change this function. Let's call it update figure. And basically, so I think the input, so whatever we have here can be accessed as the parameter of the update figure function, which is here, input value. So let's just call it symbol, because it will be, we are expecting a symbol. And basically, we need to use the symbol value to make the query again, to basically generate the candlestick again. So what this will need to return is a new figure, which is a new candlestick figure, which is candlestick. And now the problem here will, yeah, so this is not going to work, but so it needs to return a candlestick chart with the updated symbol. So basically we need to somehow take this symbol variable and put it inside the query, inside this function. So to do this, we can add the parameter here in the 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗲𝘃 function, and we can do, so we can expect a parameter called symbol, and then we can use this parameter to basically put it inside a query string, which is fairly easy because we already have it here. So we just need to, instead of Apple, we just need to pass this symbol parameter. And then later we can also do the same thing with date and maybe with the bucket variable as well. But for now, let's just do it with the symbol. So now query 8, let's just rename this. I mean, candlestick. Yeah, let's just call it candlestick. So now the candlestick function needs a parameter. Let's add a default parameter. So you don't need to provide one if you don't want to. Let's have Apple as default parameter. So this will still work because of the default parameter. But here, when we return the new updated figure, we need to reference this again, and now provide the symbol parameter, which is symbol. And so this way we query the database with a different query string, because the symbol is now basically dynamic, and we return it. So this should work, I think. Let's run it. Explore has no attribute query 1. Right. So there is an issue. Why is it imported here? VS Code imported this line for some reason. All right, so now we should see the Apple 15-minute candlestick chart by default. But if we change the symbol to something like this, then it should change. Yes, so the chart changes. So whenever I update the value inside this HTML input element, the chart updates. So let's try Microsoft, and it updates automatically. So it's pretty good. We could also use this parameter to update the actual text of the chart. So let's do that. So we go here. Here's our candlestick chart symbol, and we can also so this is the title of the chart. So 15-minute candlestick chart of Apple. Let's change it to symbol. Oops. Symbol, and format it. Format symbol equals symbol. So this way, this will be dynamic as well. Yeah. Okay, so now it's still Apple, the default value. If we change it to Microsoft, it's updated, and now also the title of the chart is updated, not just the actual visualization itself. So yeah, so it's updated. All right, so it looks to be working. The other parameter we wanted to change is the date. So currently it's always June 9, let's make it dynamic. And basically it's the same spiel. We need to just define a new input parameter. Oops. So we need to define a new input parameter, component ID. We don't have that yet, but let's call it date input. Component property is figure. Right? No, sorry, it's text. Or value, sorry. Yeah, value. The text is the actual input type, I suppose, yeah. So we create another, I think we can do that here. We can create another input here. We don't need another div. So yeah, let's modify it. So let's say it, so I don't know, just symbol goes here or something. And then date goes here or whatever. And we do the same thing. And it's called date input, or the ID is date input. The default value is June 2021, June 9, just so we have some default value. And the type text. So yeah, let's use type text. But you know, if you want to make it fancy or whatever, you could probably set up some date picker, I suppose, so the user can actually pick the date from a calendar or something. But now let's just stay with text as a type. And then so basically the figure is still candlestick, so I don't need to change anything there, I think. And yeah, so the ID is date input. Okay, so now the other thing we need to do is modify the function so it expects a date parameter. So let's have a date string, just so you know, we know that it's a string value, not a date object or anything. So let's expect a date string. Default is June 9. And we use this date string in the format function. So instead of this constant or string value, we just put date string, and this will update the SQL script or the query string. Right, and now when we update the figure, we also need to expect the date string from the input value and pass it to the candlestick function. So this should do the job. Let's try. Okay, so now we have two input elements. We have the symbol and we have the date. We actually didn't change the title. So currently we didn't modify the code to update the date as well in the chart title. So let's quickly do that. So date string should go not just to the where line, but also to here, basically. Date string. Oh, let's just call it date. All right, so now that's going to be updated as well. So we have those two input elements. Let's test it. So let's go with Microsoft. So it should update. Yes, so the Microsoft part is updated. And if we update the date to, for example, so this is June 9, which was a Wednesday. So let's do June 10, which was a Thursday. So if we do June 10, there's an error. All right. Let me check what's the issue. So callback error. Yeah, I think there's something wrong with the query. Date. Right, this should be good. So we pass the date string here. It is used here. Right. And then date string. Oh, yeah, so date string. Why is it date string? I think it should be. No, because yes, this is connected to this. Type text. The SQL query looks okay to me. Let's try again. Or maybe for some reason we don't have data for that day or something. So if I go 8, no. Hmm. Um, I'm not sure what's wrong here. Or is it because no? Give me a second. I look up another project that I worked on. So So this is something very, very similar I did before. Yeah, so that should work. And here it should be updated. Let's look at the 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗲 file. Let's print something. Let's print date string. Okay, so this still works. I can change the symbol and then it's gonna get updated. But if I change it to 10, it's updated. All right. What did I do? Did I change anything? No. Or, so I change it to 11, it's updated. Okay. I think the issue is that, like, if, okay, so let's say I just do this and then I just, yeah, so here, because it updates the chart as you change the input value. So you don't need to like hit enter or anything. It just updates it right away. And that's why it fails, because, well, now it throws a different error, but basically if I just put a proper string, date string here, it's gonna work. All right, so it works. You just need to be, yeah, so it updates instantly. But you just need to implement some kind of, maybe you could put like a button up there or something so it doesn't try to update it right away. So let's do maybe Amazon. And let's do the most recent date, which is June 12. So let's do June 12. So this is for June 12. Let's say June 9, June 8. June 7. Yeah, so this is fairly quick, I would say. So now I doesn't update because I think 6th of July. No, that's a Tuesday. It should update. All right, so it's not perfect, but yeah, so on the 5th of July, we don't have data, I suppose. On the weekend, we definitely don't have data. Also, like the 5th of July, wasn't that like a holiday in the US or something? I know it's 4th of July, but the next day. Anyway, 2nd of July. Okay, it stopped updating. All right, so there are still some issues, but basically that's the idea. And in most cases it works. So basically this is how you build a dashboard fairly quickly. Again, I'm doing this stream for an hour now, but you know, it's fairly quick to build a really simple dashboard like this, and then you know, you can work on making it look better. And the good thing is, which again, it can be a good thing, maybe for it's not a good thing, but everything is in Python, so you create all the HTML things in Python, which, you know, it has some limitations. Also, you know, if you already know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that, you might prefer to do these things on the front-end side. And the good thing is, if you want to create your own front-end, and you don't want to use Plotly Dash, but at the same time, you already created your charts using Plotly Dash like me, you don't need to throw away this code. You can just use basically the JavaScript version of Plotly, and you can pass these figure objects to the JavaScript Plotly object, and you can just generate your charts in JavaScript. So that's fairly quick as well. So yeah, this is how you create an interactive dashboard. Let's change it to Tesla once again, just to see that if it actually gets updated. There you go. And maybe let's do June 10, the next day. It takes a little time to get updated. Oh no, there's an error. Interesting. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for 11th, it works. All right, I will debug this after the stream, but fundamentally, I think this is a good base for you to sort of get started with building dashboards if you want to. So if you're watching the recording, look at the description. There will be links to this GitHub project. I will upload the Plotly dash script that I've been working on, and again, I just think that you know, take it as an inspiration, and you know, build on top of it. See what kind of charts you want to see, what kind of things, how you want to interact with the charts, and just use this project as an inspiration to get started with TimescaleDB, to get started with sort of you know, this whole stock analysis world, and yeah, I hope it was useful, and see you in the next stream.